So let's start out with a question today. Are you a competitive person? I know there's a lot of layers of competitive. Everybody's competitive to some level, but if you are, you know you are. And if you're not, you go, I'm not sure I would consider. Almost all of us, if we're not really hyper competitive, know somebody or have somebody in our family who is. Now, I might be one of those people. I try not to be at times, but I'm competitive about trying not to be competitive. I remember, this is a kind of a sad memory. I remember years ago standing in a gym with two other guys, buddies. We were talking about a bunch of stuff, planning some stuff, pretty serious little conversation, standing there. One of the guys, while we're standing there, just kind of is flipping a coin, a quarter. He drops it, hits his foot, and rolls to the other end of the court, stops exactly on the free throw line. We were all like talking and watching, and then stopped. Wow, it stopped exactly on the line. This is the sad part of the life. An hour later, the three of us were all there rolling quarters from one end of the gym, trying to get it to stop. Who could stop it closest to the free throw line? We were strategizing. Would it be, can you get closer if you throw it from here, if you go lower off of this finger off? Seriously, that's when you know you may be a little too competitive. I remember when my kids were young, matter of fact, this is a weird one, probably 8 or 10 minutes from where I'm standing right now, there is a Dairy Queen. It's when my kids were young enough, they were in T-ball, so it's a long time ago. And I remember after a game, my kids, some of the other kids on the team, some family members, all that stuff, we go to Dairy Queen. Right when we walk in, there's already people there in their little T-ball uniforms, and there's these two little boys, and they're arguing. This one little boy goes, "We won!" And the other little boy goes, "No, we won!" First little boy goes, "No, we won!" They weren't great at arguing yet. They need to work on that because not a lot of arguing game. "No, we won!" They keep going back and forth. It never gets any better than that. First kid leaves. Second kid looks up at his mom and he says, "Mom, what's a one?" That's when you know you may have competitive issues. You don't even know what winning is, but you feel like you did it. That is the height. Competitive is irrelevant, but I'll just say this. At least you need to know what your one is. If you're trying to win, maybe the big question would be, what is the win? It's kind of what we want to talk about today. For a lot of people, we spend our whole life going full steam ahead. The description I get most in life right now when I talk to people is people who say, "I am so busy." What are you busy? "Oh, I'm that, and my job, and my family, and all the things around me. And it's just, life is so busy, I'm exhausted." You feeling good about what you're accomplishing? No. There's a guy in the Bible in Ecclesiastes who wrote about it. He used this term. He said, it feels like you're chasing the wind. I feel like sometimes, many of us feel like sometimes, that we are really busy. Are you accomplishing a lot? Does it feel like it's playing out the way you hoped it would? For a lot of us, we'd say, I'm trying really hard. I'm trying to be smart. I'm trying to be wise. Trying to use my time well. But sometimes it just feels like I'm chasing the wind. It just feels like I'm so busy doing what I'm doing, it's hard to figure it out. Well, we're in a series called A Tough Pill to Swallow. The bottom line of the series is sometimes we've got to accept some things that aren't easy to accept. They're tough pills to swallow. The truth is the truth, but it may not be the truth we want to hear. Today, here's kind of where we want to start in that regard. In the areas of life that matter most, you don't win by starting well. For a lot of people, the older I get, the better I was. Well, we tell about back in the day, and there's nothing wrong with that. Man, if you've had a great history, talking about it, reliving a little bit of that, there's nothing wrong with it. But that is not winning. You don't win by starting well. You don't win by wishing. Well, I'm just hoping someday. You don't win by hoping. Well, I'm just praying that someday. You don't win by praying. Nothing wrong with starting, wishing, hoping, or praying, but you don't win because of those things. And a lot of us, we're really hoping that we're going to live our life that we've kind of given a good start. We've got some good elements, foundational elements started with, and we're wishing, hoping, and praying for the best. I just want to tell you that is not how winners win. That is not how you finish your course, look back and go, "Killed it." That's not the way it happens. And this is a tough pill to swallow because some of the things you have to do go beyond starting, wishing, hoping, and praying. Some of the things that you have to incorporate into your life aren't easy. They're tough pills to swallow. And so that's kind of where we want to dig in. Maybe we could say it this way. In the areas of life that matter most people never define what the win is. They're two boys arguing about who won, but they're not even sure what one was. Not even sure what the purpose is. In the most important, the most essential, the most pivotal areas of your life, do you have a real clear image of what a win is? Now, let me just say, here's some really important areas of your life. You can fill in the blank. I just left a blank here. You can add relationally. That's your family, that's your friends, that's the people you're close to relationally. What is the win for your life? It's hard to identify those things. The reason a lot of times we don't identify what the win is it's not easy. The other reason is nobody taught us to. We just grew up in a world where you just assume and you keep moving. Financially, what is it? Is it just to make more so you can spend more, so you can have more, so you can take care of more, so you can lose more or give more away when you die? Is that really the goal? Financially, what is your win? If you don't know what your win is, hey, listen, you are moving in a direction. The only question is, have you decided the direction on purpose, because that's your win? If you're single and you're dating, knowing what the win is the only win of dating is companionship? Is it just to be with somebody? Is it to get married? Is it to accomplish something? Is it to fulfill something in your life that's not fulfilled? What is your win in dating? In marriage, for those of you who did this and ended up with this, what is the win in your marriage? For a lot of people, the win in their marriage is not divorcing. And can I just say, if your only goal in being married is not to divorce, you are not living your best life. I just hope we can. It says right there in the marriage vows that a lot of people take and put in front of them, "Till death do us part." And so I dread seeing her every day, but by golly, I'm still married. If that's your life in marriage, you need better win. Parenting, is the goal just to survive? Is the goal just that you don't kill them or they don't kill themselves or kill each other? Is that your only goal? What is the win in parenting? If you don't know, it doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It just may not mean you're doing the best thing. Professionally, sometimes we've got this because it's more obvious. Sometimes it's to get from here to there. I've got this job, I want to move up the ladder to that job. I make this, I want to make that. Do you have a professional win in mind? Is it something that you could write down or say it's what it is? Fill in the blank, maybe spiritually or other areas of your life. The question is, in the most important areas of your life, do you know what your win is? It's a big question, because if you don't, well, if you don't define the win, you'll probably end up adopting somebody else's win. That's what most of us do. We'll adopt what we've seen. We'll adopt what the people around us do. If you don't have a win, you usually just adopt, just accept. The problem is, when you look around, are you sure you want what most people are already shooting for? Because I don't know if you've noticed, in our culture today, it's pretty jacked up. So I can't believe there's a person watching this. There's a person listening to these words who go, yep, I just want what normal people have, because normal kind of stinks in today's world. Is that really what you want? Because most people wouldn't say that they love the life that they have now. And so to say, I'm not going to choose, I'll just go where the current takes me, is, I don't think, what anybody would say. If you don't define your wins, you'll probably adopt somebody else's. I watched a clip from a marathon from a few years back, big international marathon, and it was this group of Kenyan runners that had gone out, like 6 or 7 of them, into the lead. This was a huge deal because most of these guys weren't expected to win. They get off to this really big lead, a whole pack of them. This is life-changing money, life-changing moments for them. Matter of fact, check out this video. All of a sudden you see them divert off of what was the course onto another road. And as a result, they go from having this lead. Matter of fact, it took them over 2 minutes to get turned back around. By the time they did, they had lost their lead and they lost the race because of it. For them, life-changing moment because they didn't stay on course. Here's the crazy thing for them. It wasn't them that did it. It wasn't just, a few guys took a wrong turn. If you'll watch, their whole motorcade did. The officials, the people in charge, also did. They just followed where somebody else was leading, and as a result, they ended up in the wrong place, and as a result, they lost their win. My point is, a lot of times, if we don't define our wins, we'll not end up with the wins we want, the wins we need. Or even worse, a lot of times we end up with not goals. It's what one person called not goals. You know what those are, don't you? It's when your wins become this: well, I'm not going to parent like my dad parented me. I'm not going to be like my mom. I'm not going to be like the people when I was growing up. I'm not going to be like those people at school. I'm not gonna. And the way we build our goals in life, build our wins in life, is just through the nots. And I just want to say, there is a better way to live. It doesn't have to be that way. For just a few minutes, while we're going through this together today, I want to look in Scripture at a place where somebody actually states their win. But I don't want us to do that, because I don't think we're supposed to mimic his win necessarily, but I do think we can learn from it. But after he tells us about his win, he tells us how he played it out. Not the what, but the how, and I think that's really valuable. For those of you who are kind of new to the whole Bible world, you're just kind of wading into this, it'll introduce you to a guy. For those of you who have been going to church or kind of involved in Bible things for a long time, you'll recognize the name. It's about a guy by the name of Saul. He was called Saul of Tarsus because his name was Saul and he was from Tarsus. See how that works? They were brilliant back then in how they named people. Well, Saul of Tarsus was a religious leader, had some influence in his day. As a result, he noticed there was a group of people following this Nazarene guy. And it's almost like this little cult, or maybe we'll call it a sect with a T at the end. I'll be careful about that. A sect. A group of people that were following this guy, and it was disrupting all of the Jewish people, of whom he was one. And so this guy named Saul of Tarsus, he begins trying to do anything necessary. His win is to stop that group of people from screwing up the world he knows. And he does. As a matter of fact, later in life, I guarantee you, day after day after day, somebody would have met him and said, oh, you're Saul, because of you, my sister-in-law was taken away from home one day and never seen again. My brother was taken and beaten because of you, or killed because of you. It's you, mister. That's who this guy Saul of Tarsus was. The crazy thing about his story is one day while he is fulfilling his win, he bumped into or had an encounter with this guy named Jesus, the guy who he was trying to stop the sect of people from following. He has this encounter and in the moment realizes that I've been going toward the wrong finish line. I've been going toward the wrong goal. My win is the wrong win. I'm going to have to redefine my win, and it changed everything in his life. As a result of that, in 1 Corinthians, we read these words. For I am the least of all the apostles. That's the guys who follow Jesus, those who've met and followed Jesus. And he said, now I am one, but I'm the least of those. In fact, I'm not even worthy to be called an apostle after the way I persecuted God's church. He said, I so screwed this thing up. I totally blew it. I was doing what I thought was right, but what I thought was right wasn't right. What I did is I had the wrong win. And now, as a follower, as an apostle of Jesus, I feel like I'm not even worthy to be called that. Man, I totally blew it, but I'm not giving up. As a matter of fact, if you keep reading, he'd say, but whatever I am now, I can't change the past. I can't undo what was done. But I don't have to keep going the same way. But whatever I am now, it's all because God poured out his special favor on me. He said, listen, I'm not what I was, and I'd love to say it's because I'm just trying so hard, but it all started because of this, because God gave me what I don't deserve. He forgave me of my wrong. He helped me reshape my win, and as a result, he poured out his special favor on me. And here's the statement, I love this, of all the things we're going to read today, and it's not without results. That God gave me what I didn't deserve, and I ain't wasting that. I'm not just going, well, I'm glad that happened for me. Cool. He's saying it's not without results. As a result of him doing that, let me explain. For I have worked harder than any of the other apostles. This isn't him throwing shade at all of them. This isn't him smack talking all. Yeah, apostles, nobody works as hard as me. It's not that at all. It's just him saying, listen, these guys started with a start line here and the finish line there. I started like 5 miles behind the starting line. Like I started out in deep in deep in this thing, and I'm working harder than anybody because I need to because of my past. I got to play catch up, is what he's saying. And I'm just telling you, I am doing it. It's not without results. And as he begins to explain what's going on in his life, he uses some language. Let's walk through it real quick together. He said, though I am free and belong to no one. In other words, what God did for me is he has set me free. I don't have to do anything. I have my rights. That's the way we say it in today's world, right? I have my rights. He said, though I belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone. Well, that's a stupid move. You're free and you make yourself a slave. This has a lot to do with a reshaped win for him. Though I don't belong to anyone, I made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. He gives us his win statement. He said, the reason I exist today and tomorrow and the next day is I want to win as many as possible. What he's saying is I want influence. I want to take what God has done for me and I want to influence as many other people as possible so they can experience what God has done for me. And to do that, let's check this out. I'm free, I don't have to, but I am willingly giving away some of my rights. I'm giving away my, but what about me's? I'm giving away, but that makes me uncomfortables. I'm giving all of that away. I make myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. And then he digs in with some really specific stuff. He said, to the Jews, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To which I would say, aren't you already a Jew? We said that like 3 minutes ago. It's not exactly what he's saying, but yes, he is already a Jew. He's just saying, matter of fact, he explains to those under the law, that's the old Abrahamic law that said you keep the rules. If you want to get from here to there, keep the rules. The way, the means to God is by keeping the law. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law. He's saying Jesus set me free and offered me a new life. I don't have to live with the fear of what if I'm not keeping the rules just right, will I still be okay with God? But look, I'm willing to adjust because of my Jewish friends and family, because of my Jewish community. I'm willing to adjust and live like they live. I'll take on the heavy mantle of keeping the rules, even though I don't have to, as to win those under the law. He said, I'll adjust. You know what he's saying? Around the Jews, if I want impact, if I want influence, I'm going to have to carry myself this way. What I need them to do is recognize what Jesus has done in me, but for my voice to be heard, they have to respect what I'm doing. So I'm going to out-Jew the Jewish people. I don't have to. God set me free. I am willingly taking on the extra to say if it'll help win those under the law, then heck, yeah, gonna do it. He goes on. To those not having the law, that would be Gentile, would be us. He is the one who wrote kind of the back half of the New Testament, a lot of it, and it was taken to all of these communities in the Mediterranean Rim. It's what got the gospel to people like us. The reason we're talking about it today, he's the most influential person in that. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law. And then weird statement, though I am not free from God's law, but I'm under Christ's law. He's just saying it doesn't mean those other things aren't important, but I operate under this. Christ's law, as he mentions it there, is exactly what Jesus told his followers, the disciples, right at the Passover, the last time he had with his buddies. And he told them there's been all these rules, there's been all these laws, there's been all this. Let me sum it up this way. He said, I want you to love others as I have loved you. That's the way I want you to live. If you do that, all the other stuff will find its way. Do that one thing right. He said, I live under Christ's law so as to win those not having the law. He just said for all the Gentiles, I take on a different look. I will become right where they are. I will love them where they are. I will act. I won't go, you're nothing because you're not a Jew like me. Actually, I will love them the way Christ has loved me. The way Christ loved us all and gave his life for us. That's what I'll do. I don't have to, but that is my win. That's how I'll carry out my win to influence as many as possible. As he walks through all of those steps, it is so obvious he makes his decision on how he lives based on what he wants to accomplish. Does that make sense? That's what we're all supposed to do. He goes a little further. To the weak I became weak. Why? To win the weak. I have become all things to all people, that by all possible means I might save some. Here's the goal. I want influence, not just influence so I can control people, the opposite. I want influence so I can share with people what God has done in my life, and what I will do is just about anything to make that happen. For the Jews, I do it this way. For the Gentiles, I'll do it this way. For those who are weak, I'll do it this way. For those who I am willing by all means possible that I might save some. Is he the one saving? No. He's the one sharing what saved him. I'm passing it on. I'm paying it forward. That's my win, and that's how I will do it. Now for him, he's talking to a group of people in the city of Corinth. This book is 1 Corinthians. It's to a group of people in Corinth. He's about to explain something, and as he explains it, he gives them a little illustration. He illustrates it in something they would understand. Matter of fact, let's just start with that. It says, do you not know? And when he's asking that question, he's saying, you obviously know. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run? To which we would all say, duh. No, Paul, we didn't realize that in a race that the runners run. We thought they just hop. We thought they just stood still. Of course we know. What he's talking about is in the area outside of Corinth for about 700 years. All these people would know this, that there was this little mini Olympics. It wasn't little, it was this huge, kind of like the Olympics are for us, just scaled back a little bit for their day. And so as he refers to this, they've all seen people in the Corinth area training for this year after year after year. He's just saying, when the runners in a race run, it's different, but only one gets the prize. He's saying they all start out with good intentions. They all start out, and here's what they all have in common. They all know the finish line. Don't you know that when the runner runs, he knows the finish line, and he runs in such a way as to get the prize? This is participation prize. To get the prize, you know what you had to do is you had to run faster than anybody else, and you trained and you adjusted and you did everything else. Matter of fact, you say it this way, everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They don't just luck into it. They don't just go, man, I was born fast. That's not how it works. At this level, if you want to win, you train, you adjust your life, you cut out the things that would keep you from winning, and you add the things that would help you win. You go into strict training. They do it, it says, to get a crown that will not last. Here's the weird thing about what he's saying, and it's different than where we live. The benefit of being in a race is it's obvious what the goal is, to get from here to there faster than these bozos over here. It's obvious. If you've ever run track, there is an urgency when you stand on the starting line or when you put your hands down to start. If you've ever been in any kind of race, any kind of competition, they'll start football games this weekend by kickoff, blow a whistle and kick the ball, basketball, a tip-off, a first pitch, whatever your deal is. There's a beginning, and there's an urgency that comes with that. The clock will run, the score will be kept, the crowd will yell. It's obvious in this world that there's an urgency to what we're doing. The problem is in life sometimes, for the wins we're looking for, it's hard to find the urgency. As a matter of fact, over the course of time, we just get lulled into complacency. I just get up and do what I do so I can come home and be done with doing what I did so I can go to bed and do it again tomorrow. Yay for the weekend. I exist so I can keep existing till I no longer exist. And sometimes we don't mean to, but that's what life can be. And he's just saying, listen, in this world, people are serious about it. They know the win. They face the win. And here's the crazy thing. They do it to get a crown that won't even last. Do you know what these guys got for winning in these games? This is a great one. They got some leaves, L-E-A-V-E-S, leaves, laurel leaves. You've probably seen in the past little things around somebody's head, little leaves around somebody's head. Just in case you haven't, by the magic of technology, we've all seen kind of ancient games and them wearing the little crown of laurel, L-A-U-R-E-L, laurel leaves. Now, when I was growing up, every now and then I'd hear my father say things that seemed like they were from somewhere in antiquity. And I figured it's just because he's old and old people made up old people words. He would say, hey, you can't rest on your laurels. I remember him telling me that. I never knew what it meant. I just shook my head like this because I didn't want to talk about it anymore. And what he was saying is your laurels or your previous accomplishments, they would get these laurel leaves. Can't rest on yesterday's accomplishments. They would get this, and that's what they got for winning. You know, the problem with that, it looked good. If they wore that around town, went out to eat tonight, and they had that on, everybody would go, winner. That's the guy, that's the guy, that's the lady, that's the woman, that's the people. The problem is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, 3 months later, you know what those turn into? Yeah, nothing. They just rot. You can put them in a little Ziploc bag and hang on to them, but they got nothing to show for it. And his point, people put themselves in strict training and they go through all this to win all of that. And in the end, we do what we do for a crown that will last forever. He's just saying on the things that matter most in life, it is impact that'll be made that'll carry on far beyond our time on earth. His point is that's so important to them to get their win. And on the major things in life, we need to make them important because they actually last. Therefore, he finishes, therefore, I don't run like someone running aimlessly. I'm not just somebody out here running to say that I can run. I'm not just somebody starting to say that I started. I'm not just fighting like a boxer beating the air, that I know where I'm going. I have a win in mind, and I am, his words, not mine. I've made myself a slave. I've adjusted it's my rights to say, for me to accomplish what I'm put here to accomplish, I will do whatever is possible, whatever is needed. I'll do whatever it takes to help one more person understand what I've learned and accept the forgiveness I've been given. That was his run. I'm not saying that's your run. I'm just saying that was his. He finishes this way, no, I'll strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after, this is his fear, this little circle right here was his fear in life, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. His bottom line was this: I don't want to finish this life. I don't want to be old someday and look back and go, I've been running 100 miles an hour all this time and I'm just not sure how far I got. I made some money, but I spent some money, and the best case scenario, I can hand it off to another generation who probably won't appreciate it anyway. I worked really hard and I helped my company succeed, but I'm just not sure how much impact that had in the universe. I've had people in my life and I've survived with them. I'm not sure how much I've impacted them or influenced them. He just said, I don't want to finish running my whole life and at the end go, I'm not sure I got across the line. Boy, me too. This is my driving force in life. I'm not worried that I'm going to do something and mess up. I'm going to worry that I did everything I should do and it just wasn't very much. My fear for me is that I'll put all my effort into something and my dreams will come true, and then when my dreams come true, I'll turn around and go, I'm not sure they were that dreamy. I got across the finish line. I'm just afraid that line wasn't that big a finish. If you want to succeed in this, you need to identify the wins in the crucial issues of your day, the crucial areas of your life. Identify a win. Sit down, put it in writing. If you don't have beautiful thoughts of that, start with something. I heard someone this week and they said this for their marriage. They said their win for a marriage was to always want to be where the other person is. Like no verse. They didn't have it in calligraphy or anything. They said a win for our marriage is we want it where both of us want to be where the other person is. When we're at work, we just want them to be excited about going home to be with that person. That may not be that may not be for you. I'm just saying they had one. For me in my world, when Leslie and I got married, we didn't have a win. I didn't have a clue to survive. That was my hope, to not divorce, to not die, Over the long run, for me, my win has become much more, I want to be the safest place on earth for my wife. In my marriage, I want to be the safe. I want to be the one place that she never wonders, is he in it just for him? That she can just be her without me feeling the need to make her something else. Because here's what I found out. When it's that way, she and God are so good at making her everything she needs to be. That is my win for my marriage. For those who are parents, in your parenting world, for some people it is best behaved kids. Perfectly behaved kids. That's your goal, your win. And you'll parent like that. For some people it is best educated. And you'll parent like that. Some of you are going, I wish my kids would even pass one class and would be behaved for 30 seconds. So that's not yours. Or maybe it is now, and you're just wishing for that. For Leslie and I, we didn't start with any of those things because I'll be honest, we didn't have a clue, man. They just were there and we were like, uh-oh. But the longer we've lived, you know what our goal is for our home to become a greenhouse where God can shape those kids to whatever he has in mind for them. But for us, that means we got to let go of shaping them the way we want them to be. That our job is to provide an environment and influence, and God's job is to change them. And so there have been times when we've made decisions to provide that environment. We're going to say no to some things now because that's what did it. Some things I wish we could have done. And if we had have done, maybe it would make it easier now. But we've made some decisions, not that everybody should, just for us. But we made decisions because that was our win. We just said we believe that's the way we can provide. How are we perfect in that? Oh my gosh, no. Ask my kids. They can give you 1,000 examples. But we've given our life to that. We look back on that. I wish we could have done it better, but I have no regret around that. For those of you who are dating, if the goal of the win in your dating is marriage, then can I just say this? If you want a marriage not like everybody else, then you need to date not like everybody else. You can't follow the crowd with this one. Man, it's a screwed up way of getting there. If you want something valuable, then do something valuable now. Date in a way that would lead to a marriage where you have love that's not like everybody else's, that's exemplary. If that's your dream. Can I just say, what are your wins and your most? Live toward them. It will require saying no to yourself. And don't be a great starter. Finish well. Fight for it. Get there. So the big question of the day is, what's the win for you? Hey, can I just challenge you? Put it in writing. Write down some ridiculous things, cross through them, and then write down some better ones. Cross that off and write down something better. Take time, pray about it, think about it, talk about it. Here's the deal. If you don't know what your wins are, you'll just follow somebody else's, and be careful who you follow because they may be leading you down the wrong road. And if you're a follower of Jesus, can I just say this? If you're here today and you're not, that's just good advice, by the way. All of that's just good advice. Not mine. I just took it from some guy in the Bible. It's all good advice to recognize your win and pursue it. That's smart thinking. And if you're not a follower of Jesus, good ideas. Take that home and run with it. But for those of us, if you're like me, who are followers of Jesus, it's not a good idea. It's a command. It's an imperative. We don't really have a choice. He says that we are supposed to live our lives in such a way financially and in relationships, in our marriage, in our parenting, in our community. We're supposed to live our lives in such a way that it actually gives off light that makes our Father in heaven become more attractive. We are supposed to be the ones who flavor our world so others want what God has done in us. As we pursue our wins, that it is so attractive that others want to follow it. It's our imperative. So what's your win? Then let's get after our win. So God, help us with that today. What I don't want to do is finish and look back and go, well, I guess I did okay. I tried really hard. The problem was I'm not even sure I was running for the right finish line. Help us with it. Help the people watching this. Help people actually turn the stuff off, take a few minutes, or maybe this evening, or maybe when they get up in the morning, whatever that is, and begin to ask in the most essential areas, what would a win even look like? And nobody's going to be good at figuring it out at first. Help us fight for that. Others do it in the areas that matter so little. We need to do it in the areas that matter so much. Thanks for giving us a good example. Help us live like our friend Paul did. We ask it in your name. Amen. Hey, thanks for watching. Join us next week, part 4 of Tough Pill to Swallow. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week.